Today, we're going to dive into the incredible story of how Islamic philosophy took the raw, brutal act of combat and transformed it into a deep spiritual discipline. It's a journey from the battlefield to the training hall, really from pure aggression to self-mastery.
So let's kick things off with the big question, one that's kind of at the heart of this whole story. What is strength actually for? Is it about dominating others, protecting the weak, or is it something else entirely? Just keep that question in the back of your mind as we go.
Okay, so our story begins with this massive philosophical shift. It's a total reboot of what the human body and the power it holds even means.
And the key concept here is amana. It's an Arabic word that means a sacred trust from God. You see, the idea was that your physical strength isn't really yours to do whatever you want with. It's a gift, right? A responsibility, something you have to take care of and use in the right way. And that simple idea, well, it changed everything.
But to really get just how revolutionary that concept was, we have to rewind the clock and look at the world that came before it. Let's head back to pre-Islamic Arabia.
This time was known as the Age of Jahiliyyah, or the Age of Ignorance. And look, it was a harsh, chaotic world. Survival often meant your tribe had to raid other tribes for resources. Combat was brutal, it was personal, and it was all fueled by this never-ending cycle of revenge and blood feuds.
And this is where you see the night and day difference. On one side, you've got fighting for loot, for revenge, to boost your tribe's status. It's all reactive and totally self-serving. But then Islam comes along and completely flips the script on the why. Now combat was only okay for self-defense, and building up your strength became an act of worship, something you did to better serve your community.
And that brings us to the absolute turning point in our story, this new ethical blueprint introduced by the Prophet Muhammad.
What's so wild here is how, all of a sudden, physical strength was elevated to a spiritual virtue. This famous saying, or hadith, didn't just say being strong was okay, it basically said it was the preferred way to be. And the logic was simple. A strong person can handle their religious duties better and do more good for the people around them. And listen, this was not just some abstract theory. The Prophet himself was all about it. He practiced and encouraged a whole bunch of physical activities. We're talking wrestling, archery, horsemanship, swimming, even foot racing. It was his complete holistic vision of being physically well.
There's this one famous story that really brings this to life. He wrestled a well-known champion named Rukana, and after being pinned 3 times, Rukana was so blown away that he converted to Islam. You see? The match wasn't about ego or dominance, it was a form of invitation or dawah. It was a physical act with a deeply spiritual purpose.
Okay, but this, right here, this is probably the most important redefinition of all. True strength wasn't about who could win a wrestling match. It was about inner strength, self-mastery. This was a direct challenge to that old pre-Islamic ideal of just lashing out in anger. It established that real power was having control over yourself.
All right, so with these new ideas in place, let's jump forward to the Islamic Golden Age and see what happened next, because this is where things really start to flourish and spread all over the globe. So a huge tradition that came out of this time is something called flourished. You can basically think of it as the Islamic art of knighthood. It was this complete system for a warrior, covering everything from riding a horse to fighting with a sword, and it was all tied together by this strict code of honor and ethics.
And flourished was just one piece of the puzzle. This new philosophy started to travel. And as it mixed with local cultures, it created this amazing diversity of martial arts. You had Tahtip in Egypt, Silat down in Southeast Asia, and even unique styles of Kung Fu in China. Each one took those core principles of discipline and spiritual focus and made them their own.
The story of Tahtib is just a perfect example of this. This is an ancient Egyptian stick fighting art that started out as military training. But over the centuries, it was transformed into this beautiful, ceremonial folk dance that kept its values of respect and courage. It's so important, it's now recognized by UNESCO as part of our world heritage.
And over in China, something really incredible happened. These Islamic ideas didn't just replace the local traditions, they fused with them. This led to unique styles like Tan Tui, which blended the spiritual discipline of Islam with the health-focused movements of Chinese medicine. Just a beautiful example of cultural fusion.
So that's the history. But what about today? I mean, where does this long, rich legacy leave us in the modern world? Well, that core idea of the strong believer, it is absolutely still alive and kicking. It's the inspiration from modern muscular Islam movements, which promote physical fitness not really for fighting, but as a spiritual answer to modern health problems, like sitting at a desk all day. But this also creates some really interesting new dilemmas. I mean, take competitive bodybuilding. Is that a modern way of honoring your body as a sacred trust, or has it kind of crossed the line into worldly vanity, where it's more about the ego than any higher purpose?
And that brings us right back to the question that's been at the heart of this whole thing. The entire philosophy, from a warrior in ancient Arabia to someone in a gym today, it all boils down to one simple, profound question of intention. Are you doing this for a higher purpose, or are you just doing it for your ego?
So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. In our own complicated world, full of its own conflicts, how do we find that balance between the need for strength, the sword, and the wisdom of the spirit? It's a question this long and fascinating history is still asking every single one of us.